Can I know anything at all? Can I be sure of anything at all? And Heidegger would have, why are they beings rather than nothing? But I feel they are all limited questions still. We can have still more fundamental question, and that is there anything at all? And if somebody says there is nothing at all, that statement nothing at all would be again something. At least that statement and there is nothing at all should be there, which is again something. Or suppose somebody wants to be a skeptic and say, there may be, I do not know. Again, at least that statement, I do not know, there may be like that. Even if one says, at least that statement should be there. Therefore, the experience of absolute nothingness is an impossibility. Therefore, every time we always have an experience of something. That experience, wherever we go, whatever we say, whatever we do, every time, all our experience is conditioned by the experience of the most primordial experience of this something. And that something is what we understand as being. In Indian philosophy, philosophers call it Tadegam in Asadhya Sukta, or Brahman in the Upanishads, Brahman and Atman in the Upanishads, and the Tao in the Japanese philosophy. And like that we find, and also later on with the people identify God. Then there's another question altogether. But this is the exactly what metaphysics deals with. And now what is the relation between philosophy and metaphysics? I would say the essence, the core of philosophies being, core of philosophies is the question of the meaning of being, and therefore metaphysics itself. Therefore, metaphysics and philosophy are very closely and inseparably related. Thank you.
Well, just like metaphysics, we also have another important course that is what we call ethics. And perhaps Dr. Johnson could highlight on the course on ethics under the philosophy program. Dr. Johnson.
Yeah. Thank you, Professor Thomas. When I defined philosophy as the knowledge of the whole reality in its ultimate causes, ethics also is included in that one, because we are not taking reality merely as it is, but also as it should be. So ethics speaks about the ought character, what one has to be. So philosophy as a primordial science or primordial knowledge cannot leave aside the ought dimension, not merely analyzing what something is, but how it has to be. And that is especially with regard to the human beings. In contemporary period, that is referred to as, or in terms of responsibility. I am not simply a human being, I am also responsible to the various dimensions, responsible to God, responsible to other people, responsible to the cosmos, and responsible to myself. So I am responsible. That is the ought dimension, and that ought dimension, philosophy also gives attention to that dimension. That is the vast domain of ethics.
Okay, we have another important thing to talk about, that is philosophy and logical thinking. I think Professor Nandan is the best person to highlight on that issue. Professor Nandan?
We know that epistemology is an important branch of philosophy, and that is how we see philosophy has come to be regarded as a study of knowledge, or criticism of knowledge, or love of knowledge, call it as you like. Now, how do we acquire knowledge? Logic, you can say, is the tool with the help of which we acquire knowledge. Unless we think, unless we know how to think, that is equally important. It is not sufficient if you think, you should think correctly. So, unless we think and unless we think correctly, we cannot acquire knowledge. So in this sense, philosophy and logic are interrelated. Not only they are interrelated, they are also inseparably related. This is one aspect. The other aspect is this: what should we know? This is also equally important. Unless we are very clear about what we should know, or what we can know, or what we want to know, we cannot proceed further. Logic helps in this regard. One thing, it helps us to think correctly. It helps us to decide what we can know. And finally, it helps us to acquire knowledge. That is how, you see, philosophy grows. Unless we apply logic, philosophy cannot grow.
I think there's a question from the audience. Please identify yourself and then put the question. Yeah.
I am Thomas Padian. It is in reference to Professor Johnson's starting point of philosophy. He was referring to the starting point of philosophy as curiosity, human curiosity. But of course, I think we should add together with the curiosity what Aristotle says as the starting point, the point of wonder and astonishment. So I think maybe to complement human curiosity also together with the wonder and astonishment. And also now we are speaking with the philosophizing. That's why nowadays we say that philosophy is not only an intellectual learning, but basically a doing of the intellect. And in the Indian understanding, we say that philosophy is darshana, a way of life. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. That was not a question, it was an observation. There's somebody else.
I'm Vishant, I'm Professor of Philosophy in JDV Pune. This question is to Dr. Johnson. It's a very pragmatic question. Yeah. The distinction he made about philosophy and philosophizing was excellent one. Yeah. As I see, the IGNOU has launched this distance education is philosophy, which is very welcoming sign, where I think the first step is taken. That means the students are given opportunity to learn philosophy. As a philosopher, would you recommend that IGNOU should go for an online program in philosophy where real philosophizing can take place?
Thank you. Dr. Johnson?
Of course, I am not competent to speak about the online program in philosophy, but anything that contributes towards philosophizing, not simply learning from what is already written and preserved, but anything that enables people to grow in their thinking, that we must venture into.
Yeah.
Thank you, professors, for your wonderful explanation of philosophy and philosophizing. When I compare philosophy with other subjects, generally if you in the empirical sciences, we are busy in the laboratory, as Professor George said. In social sciences, we are busy in the field work. And even in mathematics, we are busy with some symbols. In philosophy, what are we busy with? Where do I learn philosophy?
Any of you?
Philosophy's primary task is to ask questions of meaning. And I find the questions of meaning, that means what something means, what does it mean? And that also is very much connected with the truth, another the object of philosophizing, asking whether it is true or not. But fundamentally I feel philosophy is not dealing with the truth, because there are also other sciences that are equally concerned about truth. But philosophy, as the linguistic philosophers also follow the same or the same line, it is asking the question of the meaning of life, meaning of existence, meaning of things around. Therefore, it becomes inseparably part and parcel of our life.
Can you be brief now?
Yeah. I am Xavier, Professor of Philosophy from Bhopal. IGNOU has taken a significant step in including philosophy as part of distance learning. In the absence of conventional supportive structures, how do you motivate a student to learn philosophy? As you said, already the students have the impression that philosophy is abstract and boring. This is to Professor Pandamakal.
Motivating the students, we as I said, we need to use the various techniques like simplifying the language and explaining it also in terms that are contextual. If possible, also like this online program also could be introduced, and thus we can create interest. But then we cannot say there are also people who are, even if they are they are not directly concerned about philosophy as a professional subject, something like that. There are many interested in it. Because I remember when I studied here in IGNU itself, I found there was a military a person who was retired from military. He requested Professor Gracious Thomas to start this MA philosophy program so that he could also register. And there are so many people, because philosophy asks various questions. This is a field, it's a wonderful field where you have a tremendous possibilities of asking questions about everything.